All right, let's jump right in. We're going to tackle a massive question today, one that literally decides the fate of every single company out there. I don't care if it's a tiny corner store or some huge global corporation.
And that question is this: will this company survive another year? Seems pretty simple, right? But the answer? Oh man, the answer is incredibly complex. And right at the core of it all is this key accounting idea called going concern. I mean, everything. The company's survival, whether investors put money in, whether you keep your job, whether suppliers get paid, it all comes down to this one concept.
Okay, so before you can even begin to make sense of a company's finances, you have to understand the ground rule. It's like the bedrock assumption, the absolute foundation that everything else is built on top of.
So what is this going concern assumption? Well, think about it like this. When an accountant sits down to do the books, they have to start somewhere. Their default setting, their starting point, is that the company is not about to go bust. They assume it's a going concern, which just means it's going to keep doing business for the foreseeable future. And trust me, that phrase, foreseeable future, that's the magic ingredient. It changes the entire picture.
And here's why that's so important. Because of that assumption, a factory isn't just valued for what its scrap metal is worth. No, it's valued for all the stuff it's going to produce over the years. The inventory in the warehouse, it's valued at what you'll sell it for to happy customers, not what you'd get in some desperate everything-must-go fire sale. You see, it's all based on this idea of stability. But, and this is the big question, what happens when that stability starts to look, a little shaky?
And that's where we put on our detective hats. Because when an auditor or even just a smart investor looks at a company, they're not just reading numbers. They're hunting for clues. They're looking for red flags, warning signs that this bedrock assumption might be about to crumble.
First stop in our investigation, the money. You got to follow the money. Is cash just pouring out of the company? Are its debts getting bigger than everything it owns? Are the banks starting to get sweaty palms and saying, maybe we want our money back? These are the absolute classic signs that the foundation is cracking.
Oh, and it gets worse. The financial red flags keep coming. I mean, think about it. What happens when you can't pay your suppliers? Well, they stop giving you stuff on credit. They demand cash on delivery, and that just strangles your cash flow. It's like choking off the company's lifeblood. Suddenly, you can't even get the basic financing you need to keep the lights on, let alone invest in new projects. The future? Forget about it.
But listen, it's not all about the numbers on a spreadsheet. Not even close. The story goes way deeper. You have to look at the day-to-day operations. Like, did some new super smart competitor just pop up out of nowhere? Did the brilliant CEO who built the whole thing just quit? Did their number one customer just walk away? Any of those things can be a body blow, just as fatal as running out of cash.
And finally, you've got the stuff that comes out of left field, the external threats. We're talking about a monster lawsuit that could bankrupt them. Or maybe the government passes a new law that basically makes their main product illegal. Or, a hurricane wipes out their main factory and, oops, they didn't have enough insurance. Any one of these can be the final knockout punch.
Okay, so we've got all these red flags flying everywhere. The big question is, whose job is it to actually check the company's pulse? Who's on the hook here? Well, the first line of defense is actually inside the building. It's the company's own team.
Yeah, this quote really nails it. The buck stops with management first. Before an outsider, like an auditor, even walks in the door, the company's own leadership team has the fundamental responsibility to ask themselves the hard question: are we going to be here in a year? They have to be honest with themselves. They have to look in the mirror first.
And this is not some simple yes or no question. It's not a coin flip. Management has to really think about it. How foggy is the future right now? How complicated is our business? They have to make a judgment call based on the best information they have right then and there. And let's be real, the further out you try to predict, the harder it is to see clearly.
So to sum it up, management makes the first assessment. They do their homework, but they don't get to grade their own paper. That's where the auditor comes in. The auditor is that independent third party, the detective, who comes in to double-check their work and make sure the story they're telling actually adds up.
And this brings us to phase 2, and it's a huge one. Now the auditor kicks off their own investigation. Their job is to poke and prod at management's assessment and see if it can withstand a little pressure.
Now, auditors don't just wing it. They have a very specific set of rules to follow. Their mission is crystal clear. Number 1, get enough evidence. Number 2, figure out if there's what they call a material uncertainty. And that's a really important term. It doesn't mean, oh, I have a slight doubt. No, material means it's a doubt that's big enough, it's significant enough that it could actually sink the whole company. And then, number 3, based on all that, they have to decide what to write in their official auditor's report.
So the second an auditor spots one of those red flags, their investigation shifts into overdrive. They're not just there to make a list of problems, no, they dig into management's plan to fix the problems. They scrutinize the cash flow forecasts, really stress testing them to see if they're just wishful thinking. And, most importantly, they get it all down on paper. They want written proof.
So where do they get all this evidence? This is the real boots-on-the-ground detective work. They're reading the notes from every board meeting, searching for any whispers of financial trouble. They're on the phone with the company's lawyers, asking about that big lawsuit. They're going through loan documents with a fine-tooth comb, looking for any broken promises or missed payments.
And you better believe they don't just take management's word for things. It's trust but verify. So if management says, "Don't worry, our rich parent company will bail us out," the auditor's next move is to actually check. They'll verify if that parent company really has the cash, and if they're legally required to hand it over. A pinky promise isn't going to cut it. They need cold, hard proof.
Okay, so the investigation is done. All the evidence has been collected, all the numbers have been crunched. Now comes the moment of truth. It's time to deliver the verdict.
And this report doesn't just get stuck in a filing cabinet somewhere. No, it goes straight to the top. It's delivered to a group with the fancy name, those charged with governance. In plain English, that's usually the board of directors or the audit committee. You know, the people whose job it is to steer the ship and look out for the shareholders.
And believe me, the stuff they have to report is the serious stuff. We're talking about flagging any hint of fraud, pointing out major weaknesses in how the company handles its money, and of course, the big one, raising the alarm if there are serious doubts that the company can survive. This is the final warning bell.
So when you look at the whole picture, this entire process is really just a high-stakes corporate health check. It's all designed to find the problems before they turn into a full-blown disaster. And that kind of brings it all back to us, doesn't it? As people who buy things, who work for companies, who invest our savings, how many of these red flags might be waving right in front of us in the businesses we rely on every single day? And maybe the more important question is, are we even looking? Thanks for joining me.